Hi, and as promised, second part to this week's comic book corner. Three more comics to review. These were by no means bad comics, they just weren't as good as yesterday's top three, which for some of my choices here are quite surprising, given that the first one is number 4, Satana. This is very much a setup issue for the new story arc. It starts off with Satana in battle with the Royal Flush Gang, and you do have to worry, given the last time we saw them was in Justice League of America, and that wasn't a very good issue. But this is the fight is very fun. There's a lot of humour to it. This is the Royal Flush Gang in Las Vegas as the Rat Pack, so there's a little twist on it. It's all very good. Satana beats them and gives a nice bow to the Las Vegas crowd on the strip, and then we switch to these three old ladies working the slot machines. They're obviously not good. They're watching Satana, spying on her, and having a little bitch about her. So yeah, we get the introduction of a maybe evil guy, Mammon. It looks like he's going to be testing Satana's worthiness, but worthiness for what? Then we skip to where it starts to lag. She brings back the money she's saved from the Royal Flush Gang to the boss of one of the casinos, which is Sonny Raymond, and he's basically flirting away with her, getting her to go out on a date with him, which is all very well and good, only when she leaves, Mammon comes out of the big portrait, and there's obviously an evil deed afoot. And then we have more nothingness, I guess you would say. We have Satana practicing her her show, which you've seen her do time and time again, chatting about rabbits that aren't feeding, and then we get to Zack organising a party in her hotel room. Obviously she's way less from happy. The only really interesting bit about that, and maybe a plot line for further on, is Satana's warning to Zack about using his magical powers for frivolous things. Basically, the more magic you use, the bigger it's going to bite you on the bum, basically. So maybe that wasn't so useless information, but could have been shortened down. Eventually it ends with the three old ladies we saw at the slot machines. They are actually some apparent fire demons. And I guess this is where you've kind of really got to suspend your disbelief when reading comics. And we know they're not real. But with all this super magical powers, saying them backwards, all she can think of is to throw some water and throw some wind at these enemies. I would have thought she'd have known this wouldn't have affected them, and two, with all the magic words you could use, you could have sent them into space. Send them into space, make them disappear, bury them like 500 yards down in the ground or whatever. But it ends with Satana in a little bit of a pickle. As I said, not a bad issue by any stretch, but there just seemed to be a bit of a filler in bits here and there. Still, looking forward to it picking up. X-Men number 2. This, given that I did actually enjoy number 1, this seems to be treading ground a little bit, and it should have just kept going on with the momentum. The issue kicks off with a bit of Wolverine and Colossus banter, nothing that we haven't really heard before from them. Sure, they make a great kind of team-up duo, but giving them a few new lines to say, why don't you? The only benefit these scenes really had was so Wolverine and Colossal could meet up and meet up with Blade. Yes, Blade's here. Obviously, the planet's full of vampires right now, so who better to off them in super vampire killer Blade. And I mean, what the X-Men find out in this issue finally is that this isn't anything to do with Dracula. Dracula's actually dead, and someone has usurped his place as the head of the vampires. What this new vampire has managed to do is bring all the clans together to make them more stronger, and the X-Men actually found out how prolific the population of vampires are, and they're like, oh shit. So what do they decide to do? Let's bring Dracula back from the dead. He'll sort things out. So we have a little setup there of where they're going to go, what team-ups within the X-Men gang, and they're off to resurrect Dracula. In between all this going on, and this is why I've left it the last one, because really, do I care? We have Jubilee. Jubilee's obviously been depowered. She's feeling an outsider, as the head Dracula said. She's an outsider from the outsiders. So she's pretty down about all this. And obviously she was in the explosion with the vampire virus. And of course that's dragging her closer and closer to the head of the new vampires. I'm not bothered. I have no empathy or sympathy for this girl. Never really liked the character anyway. So go ahead, bite her, turn into a vampire. Bothered. Finally, on my not great issues, but still fun issues, but not bad issues. Very surprised about this. This is Unwritten, number 16. I was only disappointed with this issue because basically I thought it had finished and wrapped up too quickly. I don't know how anyone else felt like that. Basically we've got Tommy and his dad Wilson heading down into what is known as Merlin's cave. And Dad's trying to explain it to Tommy, you know, that he's some sort of key and he's the one. And everything he's done in the past has been for his benefit, but of course, boys being boys, sons being sons, you don't listen to your dads, they don't know anything, I know better. Big spoiler, just in case you haven't read it, don't listen any further on. Wilson dies. He gets killed by the big bad. And somehow Tommy believes everything his dad said. Yes, I believe now. I will pick up this plastic wand and I will shout out some nonsensical words and you will die. Oh, well, at least we think so. On the sidelines of this story, we have the reveal that Wilson's longtime friend publisher has been deceiving this Dark Cabal for so long and hasn't actually printed out the run of books that were gonna ruin Wilson Taylor. He's actually only printed a few out, and he has the real book, and he basically lets everyone know that this book that the Cabal printed out is crock of shit and don't read it. Wilson's dead, he is dead, move on. Again, interspersed through it is Lizzie Hexam's walk through a kind of Dickensian world. She's off to what she thinks is her birthplace, and that all goes kind of wrong and she ends up back in our time, but she's now in a coma at the end of the issue, and it looks like we're going to be following her storyline on in the next couple of issues. Again, I love the Unwritten. This was a bit of a slow, a bit of a disappointing issue. Not so slow, it would have been better if it was slow, stretched it out a little bit, but I was disappointed it was wrapped up so quickly. Anyway, that's me done for this week. Don't forget to rate, to comment, to subscribe. I'm doing it to you guys out there. And if you want to follow me on my Twitter feed, just type in Ghost Critic in the search engine on Twitter. you will find me. I am the only one. Till next week, have fun with your comic books and have a great week. Bye!